Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Now we are on online streaming. So if you start with the Damodarastakam, that would be nice, Prabhuji. And we can't hear you, Prabhuji. So if you just make sure that your voice, we can't hear anything. Not yet. No, Prabhuji, can't hear you anymore.
Let me again try to connect again.
No. Maybe the earphones needs to switch on. No, Prabhuji. So maybe you can just start with without earphones, with normal laptop, and then later on we try. No, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay. Am I audible? I'll just try to be.
Yeah, now it is audible. Yes.
No, it's a bit better.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I'm sorry I'm a little late. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ramnath.
Prabhuji, with your permission, without adjustment. Prabhu, if that's okay.
I can't hear you.
Prabhuji, we were saying like we will do a Damodarastakam and then get into the Krishna book.
Okay.
I'll just do over here. And, yeah. Nama Ishwaram Sachetananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Lokaladavamanam Param Rustamachanta Todrutya Gopya Rudantam Muhunetram Yugmam Rujantam Karambojayodmena Satankanetram Moho Swasakam Patrirekanka Kanta Sita Graivam Damodaram Bhaktivadam Iti Drikswali Labayananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajjantam Akyapayantam Tadeyeshitagneshu Bhaktaijithatvam Puna Primatastam Satavriti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Moksham Vadimva Nachenyam Vriniham Varashadapiha Idam te vapurnata gopala balam sada me manashkavirasam kimanye idam te mukambojam atyanta nilai vritam kuntalai snigdha raktaisha gopya Mohostumbitam bimba raktadharame Manashavirastamalam lakshalabai Namo deva damodarananta Vishnu Prasida prabodukha jala vimagnam Kripa Dristi Vrishati Dinam Batano Grihani Shamamadnam Idikshadrisya Kuberatma Jaubadda Mruchaiva Yadvad Tvaya Motito Bhakti Bhajau Krutau Cha Tata Prema Bhakti Swakame Prayacha Namo Te Graho Mekti Damodareha Namaste Sudamne Spuradipti Damne Twadiyodharayata Vishwachadamne Namo Radhikaya Twadya Priyaye Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Sri Radhe Jaya Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Sri Radhe Jaya Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Sri Radhe Yashoda Mata ki Jai Damodara Bhagwan ki Jai
Jai.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna. Jai Sai Ram.
Very beautiful, Prabhuji.
Yeah, always joyful to do with the devotees. Thank you, everyone. So happy to be back again here. And yeah, so before we start, I just wanted to ask Ramana Prabhuji, is there anything to be shared for this week? Anything in particular, Prabhuji?
Say that again?
Yeah, I just wanted, before we start, I just wanted to ask if there's anything that you would like to share before we get started off with the Krishna.
Oh, it's all, don't get me started. There's all kinds of things going on in the world. But, you know, doesn't exactly have to do with Krishna Kata.
Donald Trump.
I didn't say that. You said that. I was going to say Tulsi Gabbard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, in fact, I was just seeing some video floating and it said, like, there are going to be some key positions that are going to come up from Trump. So, and Tulsi Gabbard is one of the person who's been mentioned in that list. So, yeah, we never know what's going to come out of that.
I will say that I was kind of shocked. Tuesday was Prabhupada's disappearance day. Wonderful event at the Manor. But then when I went in to sit down, I was late coming in a little bit, and devotees were already sitting down. And I got a plate of prasadam, and I sat down where Kripa Moy and Pragosh were, and they were having a lively discussion about the election. This was the day, I mean, it was the same day as the elections were going on. And only to find out that everyone at the table, it was about 7 of them, 7 devotees, were all completely against Trump and quite vociferous. What's the right adjective? I mean, they were very strong anti-Trumpers. And I told them, look, I've never voted. I'm not for Trump, but I am for Prabhupada's desire that devotees get involved in politics. And I explained, in 1973, I was a young 19-year-old devotee, joined the Atlanta Temple Brahmachari Ashram. And at that time, when I joined, the temple president, his name's Balavanta, was running for mayor of Atlanta in the In God We Trust Party for Purified Leadership that was established by Srila Prabhupada himself. Prabhupada wanted devotee politicians. That was my first experience of Krishna. I was, I didn't know much about anything, but my first experience was Prabhupada wanted devotee politicians. So Prabhupada stopped the program because it was way too premature to have devotees get involved in such a thing. But I do know Tulsi Gabbard is a disciple of a Prabhupada disciple. His name is Siddhasrupananda in Hawaii. It's not exactly ISKCON, but she was born and raised in a devotee family, growing up with Prabhupada's books, kirtan, everything. So in her heart, she is a devotee. She knows the philosophy. She is a devotee of Krishna. And so for someone of that caliber of a devotee, and not just a devotee, but following Prabhupada, to be in close proximity to real power in the world is an amazing thing for me.
Yeah.
But even as I explained this to Pragosh, he was like he didn't want to hear it. He was just like, forget it. I'm against Trump. I said, oh, you've got TDS. Does anyone know what TDS is? Trump derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome affects the analytical process where you can't analyze things. You let your own emotion just get in the way of a fair analysis. So I was trying to explain, I don't support Trump. I support Tulsi Gabbard, but he was so, he's labeling me as the anti-Trump person at the table. And I said, no, I'm not anti-Trump. I mean, I'm not Trump. I'm simply pro Gabbard. Anyway, it was quite a. Then I got into a conversation with Kripa Moy about Giriraj. I was trying to change the subject, but I couldn't. The whole Prasadam time was talking about politics. Anyway, I don't want to go on and on, but yeah, that was a strange experience.
My personal take is like you look at things from a different lens. Like you look at it from how things can be integrated or how we can play a part in the role in Krishna consciousness, and whether it's a politician or anyone, because that's that you're looking at, which I think people maybe they're not able to understand that point. And I totally agree on what you're saying, because that's what is important, because these are
just imagine her role in international communications with Narendra Modi.
Yes, absolutely, because people are not understanding that it is so important, like as Prabhupada said, and as what you're also aligning on the same view. It is so important because these are the people who are deciding things actually at the world scale.
Exactly.
These are the ones who are.
This is real politics, not ISKCON politics.
Yeah, absolutely, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I mean, and interestingly, Trump actually even addressed the Hindus who are being attacked in Bangladesh, and that was really remarkable for a U.S. president elect to even talk about that. I was really pleasantly surprised actually that he was talking about that. He's saying he's condemning the attacks that happened on ISKCON, because in Bangladesh, the main thing that came up in the newspapers was the attack on ISKCON temple. So it was remarkable to see, like, that he openly mentioned about it as well. And yeah, we totally understand probably the way you kind of like your point of view is always whether it's Lord Shiva or whether it is talking about these political topics. Also, you look at it from a different lens of bhakti and
what's favorable for ISKCON, what's favorable for Krishna consciousness. That's all I'm thinking about.
I totally second that, probably. Whatever you're saying, I totally understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the American in the room there at the manor, but I didn't want to talk about Trump. I wanted to talk about Tulsi, but all he wanted to talk about is how much he hated Trump. Anyway, it was a rather strange experience, and it's okay. I mean, I'm going to follow up with an email to Pragosh, especially. See what I can get going with him on this. But yeah, a lot of people in the world are upset. A lot of people are happy. Yet it remains to be seen what happens. What I'm happy about is, yeah, of course, Tulsi, but the way the election happened is that Trump basically won the popular vote, the Electoral College, the Senate, the House of Representatives, everything. So it gives him a very strong mandate for the next 4 years to get things done. And who knows what's going to happen. But it'll make it easier for him as the president to actually do things.
You have a strong mandate. There's a lot of things you can do compared to going on a peace mandate.
And it's very possible Tulsi becomes Secretary of State. That still, remains to be seen, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the speech that she gave in the presence of Trump, and that's a very powerful position, Prabhuji. Secretary of State is a very, very
Well, exactly. And basically what it does, it propels Tulsi Gabbard's political career, not as a Democrat, but now as a Republican. And, I mean, who knows? Maybe after a couple of election cycles, she will be the first female president of America.
Yeah.
I mean, forget about Temple president. What about president of America? We need a female. But it has to be someone not like Harris, but someone who's actually a kshatriya. I've often referred to Tulsi Gabbard as a female Arjuna. She's courageous, she's strong, she's a warrior, she's a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserves in America. She has a battalion that she commands. She commands 1,000 soldiers.
That's what
1,000, they all look up to her as the commander. She's a kshatriya.
She's a kshatriya in the real sense.
In the real sense, not as some ideological sense. In the real sense, she's a kshatriya, politician, warrior, courageous.
She was there in the battlefield. She was there in Iraq, and she's been on missions also. Yeah, so nothing.
At the same time, she is basically a Prabhupada, not a Prabhupada disciple, but disciple of a Prabhupada disciple. Fine with me. It's not exactly ISKCON. I mean, there's been some schisms, and so Siddhaswarupananda, Prabhupada disciple, broke away. This is all in Hawaii. There's a whole story there, but the point is he started his own organization, and so Tulsi's family was part of that, and she became a disciple of Siddhaswarupananda, a Prabhupada disciple.
End of the day, for us, the root is Prabhupada.
Yeah, exactly. So, these I think Pragos is partly upset because Tulsi's not part of ISKCON. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we should look at the bigger picture that for us, Prabhupada is what matters. As long as everybody is following what.
Exactly. I don't know what her spiritual standards are. It's none of my business. The point is, she feels herself as a devoted to Prabhupada's teachings, and as a kshatriya warrior, probably as a karma yogi, more as a bhakti yogi. But she's a follower of Bhagavad Gita as it is, not simply Bhagavad Gita by some Mayavadi, but Bhagavad Gita as it is. So anyway, I just accept it all as Krishna's arrangement.
Yes,
Even Trump in his acceptance speech said something like, "We're starting America's going to start a new golden age." I say, "Oh, that's nice, a golden age, the golden avatar. Who knows what's going to happen?" And that he said many people told him it was divine intervention by God that he's still alive because of what happened by the assassin's bullet, and that by God's arrangement, he's meant to lead America. And so, Trump's obviously not Krishna conscious, but who knows how Krishna works sometimes through these personalities.
Yes, Prabhuji. Ultimately, he's the supreme controller, Krishna. So nothing is impossible for Krishna.
I just see it as a real jumpstart for Tulsi Gabbard's political career. It's going in the right direction, and let's see what happens. Anyway, no, I don't want to spend that much time. Get right to KrishnaBook, okay? We don't need to waste time on this.
Thank you. It's always nice to listen to you before you start it off. So thank you, Prabhuji.
Good background knowledge. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So I'm going to just get started off so that we will just do our invocation prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hey Krishna, Karna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu, Jagatpate, Gopika, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namaste. Saptakanchana, Gaurangi, Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami, Haripriya. Om Namo Vishnu Padana, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Vikinam, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Namaste Saraswati Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi, Gaura. So we're going to start off with the Krishna book, as we always do. We just recite this sloka from where Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vedi. Chakoteham punarjanma naiti mameti Arjuna. So where Krishna says, one who's listening to Krishna Katha, towards the end of their life, they will not come back into this material world, but they will directly go to Krishna Loka. And it is even more auspicious because this is the month of Kartik. We have just one more week after this, and by the I think next week, Friday is going to be the last for the Kartik month. So we make the best of our time listening to Krishna Katha and all the divine leelas of Krishna. Krishna is called the Supreme Bhagwan. We just celebrated Govardhan Puja as well, where Krishna has established his supremacy and also to replace Indra Puja with Govardhana Puja. So in many ways, Krishna is giving us his instructions through Bhagavad Gita and a practical demonstration through the Krishna Katha. So both of these are important in order to understand Krishna in complete. We need to read the Bhagavad Gita and we need to see the practical applications of how it is happening in the Krishna book. We started off last week with the chapter 54, where Krishna defeats all the princes and takes Rukmini home to Dwaraka. This is another beautiful chapter that we started off last week, and we've seen how just a quick recap and that Rukmi, who's a brother of Rukmini, he wants to get his sister get married off to Sishapal. Prabhuji, will you put your hand up, Amoga Prabhu?
Prabhuji, it seems your voice is a bit low, Prabhuji.
Okay. Can I maybe see if still it's inaudible, did you say? Okay, I thought you're replying back, so I thought everything is getting better. I thought, let me just quickly see if I can put the Bluetooth and try it once again. Just give me a minute, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
What's going on? Supposed to be working fine.
No, Prabhuji, we can't hear anything.
Can you hear me now, Prabhuji?
Yes, Hare Krishna, much better.
Much better, is it? Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, okay. Amoga Prabhu? Yeah, Amoga Prabhu is also joining again. Yeah, because we are sharing this one as a host, as a co-host. Amoga Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you now.
You can hear me now. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Sorry about that. Apologies, everyone. Vrindavandas Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Ashwin Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us.
Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam Prabhuji. Jagannath Prabhu, Hare Krishna. So we just getting into the Krishna book reading. So I'll just get started off with that. If you can just confirm, you can hear me all right now, yeah?
Yeah, it's good. It is okay.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So we just started off the last chapter. We spoke about how Krishna is going all the way to Kundini at the request of Rukmini. Rukmini has sent a letter to the Brahmin asking Krishna to come and take her away. because she has heard so much about Krishna, and then she's made up her mind to only marry Krishna and nobody else. So it is very clear. So now Krishna has accepted the invite, and he wants to go, and he has also decided that Rukmini is going to be the wife, and so he goes all the way to Skundini, and we can see that Bhishmaka, who's the father of Rukmini, makes all the arrangement. He receives even Krishna and Balaram, and he kind of like makes all the elaborate arrangement for all the princes. So the situation so happened that when Rukmini, as part of the tradition before getting married, the very next day is the marriage, and she's going to the temple and just to take the blessings of Durga Devi, and then come back on that. And in the meanwhile, we've seen that Krishna has come at that point of time, arrived at Kundini, and then he first sends the Brahmana, and Brahmana goes and informs Rukmini that Krishna has come. Till that time, Rukmini was very so much of anxiety, not knowing whether Krishna is going to turn up or not. But finally, when she sees the Brahmana, she's finally relieved that Krishna is surely going to come and take her from there. So after that, we have seen that Krishna comes out there, arrives at the place, and he takes Rukmini on the chariot, and then he goes away from there. And we've seen that also Balaram, along with his army, because he's come to Balaram, is Krishna's brother, elder brother, who comes to know about this, that Krishna is going to Kundini. And so he also arrives with his army. So the whole thing, you can imagine, bring to our mind the whole situation, how it must have been, where you have Shishupal and Jarasandha and Rukmi, all of them as one gang. And they already came to know that Krishna is coming. They already got some Chinese whispers. They already got to know that Krishna is likely to come to take Rukmini. So they were fully geared up that Krishna comes, we're going to, fight with them, kind of thing. So, but Krishna is the supreme lord of the universe. He's so coolly, he just comes on the chariot, picks up Rukmini, and then he goes away from there. And then we can see that Jarasandha, we just closed the last chapter saying where Jarasandha gets so angry that how Krishna could do something like, because at the end of the day, they're all Kshatriyas, and it's the Kshatriya spirit that somebody comes and takes away in front of them, because all those princes, they were so much enamored seeing the beauty of Rukmini. They were like, so all of them were thinking that they're all going to be Nova Rukmini. But Rukmini has totally made up her mind that it's not going to be Sushipal, it's not going to be any of the princes. She has made up her mind that it's only one going to be one and only Krishna and nobody else. And we can see that we covered a bit where the kind of like fighting happened, that once Krishna has left on the chariot with Rukmini, and then all the people, like starting with Jarasandha, because you had to keep in mind Jarasandha was someone Krishna already defeated 17 times when he was trying to attack Mathura. And now, like, as all the bad people come together, you can find that Trishupal, Jarasandha, and all of them, they're like one gang of people. And, they're just trying to join hands together to go and defeat Krishna. And then we see that even even Balaram also joins in this, and a fighting that takes place between the two groups. And the people of with Krishna, along with the Yadu dynasty, the army of Yadu army, they were like amazingly, they were able to withstand, or not only withstand, they were able to fight off all those, even though Jarasandha and all of them, they were chasing Krishna on the chariots and horses and elephant, they were no match for Krishna. And Rukmini was very kind of like she was feeling very this thing, like in a way that Krishna has taken so much of risk for her that he came all the way, and now we find that Krishna is now being chased by all these different princes out there, like Jarasandha and all of them. So she was feeling a sense of gratitude, because Rukmini has already heard about Krishna as well. She already heard about how brave Krishna is, and how he fought all the battles with Jarasandha, how he went and killed Kamsa, and how the different tales of how Krishna killed all the demonic people in Vrindavan. So she already knows how great Krishna is. And that's the reason why she has made up her mind that it's only going to be Krishna. But so she was looking at Krishna with a lot of gratitude and gratefulness. And Krishna could understand, because he's sitting in everyone's heart. And so he assures Rukmini not to worry at all. And that the Yadu soldiers are capable of destroying all these armies that have been chasing them. Right. But we had to keep in mind that even though people say, like, how could Krishna be on the battlefield or killing people, but we had to understand that everyone whether it's soldiers or any of these demonic people, anyone who died in the presence of Krishna, they all got liberated. So we can see that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary and the best friend of everyone in this universe. That's why it is mentioned, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is the well-wisher and Krishna is the most dearest friend. So he is assuring Rukmini, because he is the Lord of the universe, he's assuring nothing is going to happen and the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty are going to be are capable of taking care. And we can find that even Lord Balaram is joining hands with Krishna in defeating these soldiers. So even he started joining them with the horses and elephants and all these things. And in no match, in a very short time, they kind of like the Yadudan soldiers, along with Krishna and Balaram, they were able to defeat or kill millions of these people, severed hands. You can see the clear mention is said like millions of severed heads decorated with helmets and earrings. So you can imagine like how what scale of war or battle that was happening in those days, that where millions of heads are being severed. So we can see what kind of a arrangement they had, like in terms of horses, in terms of elephants. It's mind-boggling to think about the huge number that they had in those days, isn't it? And so one of the thing is like Jarasandha and all that, they knew they're fighting a losing battle. They knew that it's not possible to go and defeat Krishna, and they were seeing that all these princes who joined hands along with um, Jarasandha and Susipal, they could make out that there are no match for no match. They're in no way in a position to fight Krishna and Balaram. So they could find that already they're losing their soldiers and all that. So they started thinking, why are we losing all our army for the sake of Shishupal? We are unnecessarily losing our battle. So they decided that they're not going to fight anymore and they're going to retreat back. And because they could also see that even though they are trying to support Shishupal was in no way competent to fight against Krishna. So they started going back. And so some of the people, some of the princes, out of etiquette, because they are right now, they are kind of like came as guests and living in over there in the because Bhishmaka, who is the father of Rukmini, he's already made all the arrangements for all the princes to come. So out of the etiquettes, so there's kind of like they supported Shishupal, saying that don't get discouraged and things like that. And as we were talking earlier, also, this is the way demonic people keep supporting each other. Even when Jarasandha was losing against Krishna, the same thing happened. His friends also were kind of like encouraging him not to worry and everything is going to be fine and things like that. So, so yeah, so that's the nature of the demoniac people, isn't it? Even they don't try to tell them that tell the good things. They always keep encouraging them in that way. So that's what was happening. So they were trying to fight against Krishna and Balaram, but they knew that they are no match for them. And secondly, the soldiers are all dying. So in that mood, a lot of people they just returned back. And also, even Sushipal could see that he's nowhere a match for to fight against Krishna. So he also comes back instead of bringing Rukmini back. He just settled on with all the flattering words of his friends who said, "Don't be disheartened" and things like that. So we can see that once this news has come, now Sushpal he's no match for Krishna and Balaram, so he returns back to the kingdom, without bringing, Rukmini. Because there's no way that he could fight against it. So now Rukmini's brother, Rukmi, he's kind of like very furious because he's the one who wanted to give his sister Rukmini in the hands to Shishupal. So he was very annoyed and he was very frustrated. And so he tells all the people, like all the princes who came back, he tells them that, even though they are not able to help Shishupal, he says that I'm going to go after this Yadava. I'm going to go after this cowherd boy that who's taken up by my sister, and I'm without my bringing back my sister, I'm not going to come back. So this is the kind of a like war he's kind of like put it, that I'm going to make a war that that I will not return to my capital Kundini without bringing Rukmini. So you can find that even though the all the princes they joined hand, we can see that each of these kings they had a mighty army, right? Even the Rukmi, who's a brother of Rukmini, even he had his own set of soldiers, military phalanx consisting of several thousand elephants, horses, chariots. So we can imagine the scale of the battlefield that was going on at that point of time. So he thinks that, that he can easily fight Krishna and that he wants to teach Krishna a lesson. So can you imagine, this is what demoniac people, they're not demonic people are not only envious of other human beings, they're even envious of God. And that's what the whole, if you see the point of all the atheists, like sometimes they even defy God. But Krishna is so kind that even for people who want to forget them, he gives them the intelligence. He gives them the intelligence to even the atheists also to come up with their own conclusions about that. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivito matasmitir jnanam apahanam chai. And he's seated in everyone's heart, and from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So if for people who want to forget Krishna, he gives them that forgetfulness also. So Krishna is always very kind. In fact, after explaining whole Bhagavad Gita, also he never forces Arjuna. He says, Arjuna, decide what's the right thing for you to do. So yeah, so here we have a situation where Shishupal has failed on the battlefield. He's returned back to his kingdom, and now Rukmi is very furious, and wants to go and fight against Krishna. And we've seen that he's chasing Krishna along with others, and then now he's telling Krishna to stop a minute and go and fight with him. And he's comparing Krishna that he's like a crow who's kind of like stealing clarified butter, which is meant for sacrifice. So imagine it sometimes happens, isn't it? When you keep things on the wall or somewhere like that, suddenly find a crow coming and picking it up, even though you would have kept it for some other purpose. So that is what he's trying to compare here, and he's asking Krishna, can you stop a minute and fight with me, kind of thing. So we can see that how Krishna is so powerful that even though Rukmi was kind of challenging, Krishna was so easily, he shot his arrows. He wanted to fight with Krishna and shoot arrows at Krishna, but Krishna was so easily handled him. He shot just five, even though Rukmi has shot five arrows. Krishna was immediately, he was so accurate and sharp that he broke the bowstring of the arrow. So we can imagine of the bow. So we can imagine. And again, Rukmi took another bow, and again he broke the bowstring of that bow. So like that, he kept doing that, and Krishna so easily shot arrows at him, and with another eight arrows, he killed the horses and killed even the chariot driver and chopped off the upper portion of Rukmi's chariot. Hey, so for Krishna, it was so easy to fight with someone like Rukmi, right? So now that his bowstring has been broken, now Rukmi goes and takes his, swords and shields and all these things. But Krishna, he's no match for Krishna. Krishna immediately just broke all of them. So he was very baffled, like, no matter how much he was trying to do, everywhere it was going right. And then he ran towards Krishna. So we can imagine the Kshatriya kind of a thing, right? So he tried his best, tried to shoot arrows at Krishna, that didn't work. And Krishna broke his bowstring, and now he's taking his swords, that didn't work. And now he's rushing towards Krishna to kill. And the comparison is given so nicely, just like a fly proceeds towards a fly, it's like self destruction. So similarly, he was trying to rush towards Krishna, and Krishna took a weapon to go and cut him into pieces. Like he took his sharp word and was about to kill him, and that's why you file, right? It's a typical thing, isn't it? Even though Rukmini is like maybe Rukmi is not a nice person, or he was very kind of like antagonistic towards Krishna, and he was not happy to give his sister in marriage for Krishna. But Rukmini, even though she loved Krishna so much, but she had a little bit of compassion. So she fell down at Krishna's feet, asking him, like, to plead, not to kill his brother. So, so again, from here also we can see so many things. Like one of the things is like Rukmini addressing Krishna as Yogeshwar, one who possessed of inconceivable opulence and energy. So we can imagine there's no way they could match, even though all the kings came together and they were trying to fight against Krishna and Balaram, they were no match for it because Krishna is unlimited, right? And also, if you remember in Bhagavad Gita, the very last thing which Sanjaya says is, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Pardo Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhuti Dhruva Nitirmatima. Wherever there is Bhagavan Sri Krishna and wherever there is a devotee of Krishna, there is going to be victory and there is going to be all opulences. So we can see here Krishna being addressed as Yogeshwara, unlimited. Because why we call Krishna as Bhagavan? Because everything, he's got six opulences and unlimited strength, unlimited beauty, unlimited renunciation. We've seen that from the battlefield also, he walked away from there. So So Krishna has got all this. That's why we throughout Bhagavad Gita we say Krishna Bhagavan Uvasha. That means someone who's got unlimited. So that is what Rukmini is nicely addressing. So we can see that how Krishna from time to time he's being addressed either by Arjuna or by Draupadi or whether by Rukmini. In different situations, they always keep addressing. Um, so Dwaraka Nandana or Nandanandana, or Madhusudana, Govinda. So they call with different names depending on the situation. Krishna being always addressed in different ways by his devotees. So you're rightly very apt here that Rukmini is calling Krishna as Yogeshwara because she's seen that he is possessed of inconceivable opulences. And Rukmini's brother, and that's the difference, right? We have two Atmas, which is called as we can say Vibhu and Anu. So even though we are part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna is Vibhu, unlimited, and we are Anu, we are limited. So even though we are part and parcel of Krishna, Mamaivamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Mana Shastra Indriyani Prakriti Sani Karshati. Where Krishna says the living entities that all of us, the Jivatmas who are living in this conditional world, are my eternal fragmental parts. But because they're living in this conditioned world, they're struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So Krishna is addressing as Sanatan Dharma. So this why the original name of Hinduism is called as Sanatan Dharma, because you can see in this sloka where Krishna is saying, Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Sanatana. That is Bhagavan Sri Krishna is eternal and we are also as Jivatma, we are also eternal. That is why the religion that we follow is called as Sanatan Dharma. That we are eternal and our dharma is to always serve the Paramatma. The dharma of a Atma is to always serve the Paramatma. And that is our main duty. That is the reason why Krishna says, Yad karosi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi, dadasi yad tapasyasi, kaunteya tad kuru samadarpanam. That whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, do everything as an offering to. Because that is the dharma of an Atma, to always do everything for the pleasure of Paramatma. So this is what has happened. Now Rukmini is addressing him as Yogeshwar. And even though Rukmi is nowhere at all comparable with the unlimited power of Krishna, uh, so she is also addressing. So we can see some of these things like how people are addressing in those days. Like here, Rukmini is saying he's calling him as Yogeshwar, and she's also calling him as the god of all the gods, Devadi Deva. So Krishna is called as Devadi Deva, the god of all the gods. In Vishnu Sahasranam also it is mentioned like that, where the Bhishma Pitamaha is telling Yudhishthira, that Jagat Prabhum Deva Devam. He starts off, Bhishma Pitamaha starts off Vishnu Sahasranam by saying, Jagat Prabhum Deva Devam Anantam Purushottamam. He is the god of all the gods. And then there are many powerful demigods or Upadevatas, who you can call it Lord Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna. But Krishna is the lord of all these gods. And whereas Rukmini's brother was just an ordinary mortal, but in fact he is the lowest of all the Krishna because he has no understanding of Krishna. We recently celebrated Govardhan Puja, where Krishna, through the Leela of Govardhan Puja, has made it very clear for all of the Krishna devotees to mention that there's no need to worship Indra, even though he's a king of the heavenly planets. He's the lord of the heavenly planets, and he's the one who can lash out. And we've seen that even Indra was so angry that he lashed out his most powerful cloud he sent to lash out rain at Vrindavan, the people of Vrindavan, because they were not worshipping him. But Krishna showed, and the Leela is so important because Krishna lifted this mountain with his little left hand. Because normally when you want to do something, we use our right hand because right hand we find more comfortable and we have more power and understanding. He here is very aptly he's mentioned that with his left hand, with his little finger, he lifted this mountain to show that, oh, Krishna has got unlimited strength. And second thing, through the same Leela, he showed that Indra, you are not the supreme, I am the supreme. Third thing is to show that no matter what devatas are angry with you, but if you are under the shelter of Krishna, even the demigods like Indra cannot do anything to you because you are under the protection of Krishna. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya prati janihi name bhakta pranashyati. Arjuna, you are my favorite devotee, and you go and tell the world that a devotee of Krishna will never perish, because I will always keep protecting them. And who can be a bigger devotees than the people of Vrindavan, right? Day and night, they were only thinking about Krishna. And for them, Krishna is capable of doing anything. For them, they were not at all surprised that Krishna could lift anything. Krishna could go and kill the Bakasura, Bhimasura, or whether it is Putana, anyone. For them, Krishna could do anything. So that is the mood of the devotees of Vrindavan. They just loved him so much, and Krishna through this golden leela showed that don't worry about any of the demigods, because Krishna is also mentioning that this power of the demigods is coming from Krishna, because Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita very clearly that whoever devatas that you worship, I'm the one sitting in your heart and making your faith strong in that particular demigod. But you have to understand this, Arjuna, that everything is coming from me. Mata paratam nanya kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaiva. But there is no one who's superior to Krishna. Krishna is the supreme Lord of the universe, and everything is coming from that. So here, Rukmini is addressing him as Devadi Deva. And not only that, Rukmini is also addressing Krishna as Mahabhuja, which means one with unlimited strength, which is what we're just now talking. Like, imagine the unlimited strength that he could just lift a goat, hill just on his little finger. Not only that, one of the name of Krishna is called as Govinda, one who has lifted this planet Earth for the Ratnagarbha ocean. He lifted this planet Earth as well. So we can see that his strength is inconceivable, not something to be addressed on the material platform. And she also addressed Krishna as Jagatpati, the master of the whole cosmic manifestation. In comparison, her brother was just an ordinary person. So here she is glorifying Krishna, that you are the supreme Lord of the universe. You are the God of all the gods. You are the one with unlimited strength and everything. So in a way, he's kind of telling that my brother is just an ordinary mortal, and you are the Jagat. You are the supreme Lord of the universe. So please, in a way, she's kind of pleading with the husband. So Krishna was, obviously he wants to make sure he compared the position of Rukmi with that of Krishna, and very feelingly pleaded with the husband not to kill her brother at just as an auspicious time, because, on one hand she's very pleased that now she was always thinking about Krishna, and finally she got a situation where she's with Krishna right now. For the first time, she has joined with Krishna, and at that time, in such an auspicious time that she's joined with Krishna, she doesn't want something like this happening, that way Krishna is killing her own brother. So she was pleaded with him to excuse him. In other words, she displayed her real position as a woman. So normally this is the thing, isn't it? The compassion that she had. She was happy to get Krishna as a husband at the moment when her marriage to another was to be performed. But she did not want it to be at the loss of her elder brother, who after all loved his younger sister and wanted to hand over to one who, according to his own calculations, was a better man. So this is the thought process, right? So Rukmi was thinking that Shishupal was a better option for Rukmini, in his mind, because everybody has their own thinking process, isn't it? They think like, in my mind, I think this person is better, kind of thing. So that was what was going on in Rukmini's mind, actually. So we can see that here Rukmini is kind of leading with Krishna. So while praying, Rukmini was praying to Krishna for the life. Her whole body trembled because of her anxiety. Her face appeared to dry up, and her throat became choked due to the trembling, or the ornaments of her body loosened and fell scattered on the ground. In this way, when Rukmini was very much perturbed, she fell down on the ground, and Lord Krishna immediately became compassionate. So Krishna is always reciprocating, as we all know. Ye yatamam prapajyante tam tata eva bhajamyaham. Krishna is always reciprocating to the love of his devotees. So when we are in that mood of devotion, we are in the mood of pleading to Krishna. Krishna also reciprocates in that way. So as Rukmini was pleading with him, and she fell on the ground, so now Krishna is also compassionate, and he's agreed that not to kill, but at the same time he wanted to give him a slight punishment. So he took a piece of cloth and sniped off his mustache, beard, and hair, and keeping some spot. So just imagine, for a Kshatriya, if he could remove his hair and mustache and all that, these are the most things, that they can't take it. Actually, it's one of the biggest. It's a kind of a punishment, right? So while Krishna was dealing in this way, the soldiers of the Yodha dynasty, commanded by Balaram, broke the whole strength of the army. So we can see that how Krishna, on one side, he is fighting with Rukmi as well. And on the other hand, Balaram, along with the Yadu army, he's kind of like so easily they defeated the army and the whole strength of Rukmi's army. And the comparison is given just like an elephant in the pond discards the feeble stems of a lotus flower. So just imagine how easy it is for an elephant to just trample over a stem of a lotus flower. So it was that easy for the Yadu army to just get rid of them. And so when the commanders of the Yadu dynasty came back to see Krishna, they were surprised to see the condition of Rukmini. So we can when the fighting was happened, they finished during the fighting. They went and defeated the army of Rukmini, and now when they came to see, they were surprised to see the condition of and now we feel that Lord Balaram also has a role to play because we have to keep in mind uh, Balaram is none other than Anantatesh, on whom Lord Vishnu is resting, and he is right now. But in this Leela, Krishna expands on the right hand side as Lord Balaram, on the left hand side as Radharani. So we can see that Balaram has become compassionate towards his sister-in-law. Obviously, he can understand now that because Rukmini is going to get married to Krishna now, so Rukmini has become his brother-in-law. So there's a relationship here, right? So Lord Balaram was becoming big compassionate towards his sister-in-law, who's none other than Rukmini. And so to please Rukmini, right? So we have certain this thing, isn't it? We don't want to offend somebody, especially Rukmini is now just entered into their family. Now she became with Krishna. So in order to please Rukmini, Balaram personally untied Rukmini because so we can imagine from this that Krishna would have got him tied and removed his mustache and things like that. But Balram being an elder brother, so he has a role to play. Elder brothers always chastise, isn't it? Younger brothers. So he's like spoken some word of chastisement, saying, Krishna, your action is not at all satisfactory. This is an abomination or very much contrary to our family tradition. So Krishna, he's kind of like chastising Krishna that he shouldn't have done this. To cut somebody's hair and shave his mustache and beard is always comparable to killing him. So you can see that, that in those days, if you want to punish a Kshatriya, this is all you have to do. You have to just remove his mustache, and that itself as good as killing himself. You can remember, like even when Krishna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did Krishna tell Arjuna? Arjuna, if you run away from the battlefield at this time, Krishna, they're not going to think that you're very feeling compassionate. They think that you're a coward, and that's the reason why you left the battlefield. And they're going to scorn you, and they're going to say all kind of words on you. And Arjuna, you are a warrior, greatest warrior on the planet. And imagine if people are going to say those ill words on you, that you are like coward, you run away from there, and all that. It's only worse than death, Arjuna. So like that, but also we can see that Balaram has words of chastisement that we shouldn't have been done, especially when Rukmi has whatever Rukmi has might have done, he's not our brother-in-law. That's what I was saying, right? So at the end of the day, he's still a brother-in-law, and so you shouldn't have put him in that kind of condition. And after that, in order to pacify Rukmini, Lord Balram said to her, so Lord Balram is speaking to his sister-in-law, who's about to get married to Krishna, Rukmini. You should not be sorry that your brother has been made odd looking. Everyone suffers or enjoys the results of his own action. Lord Balram wanted to impress upon Rukmini that she should not be sorry for the consequences her brother suffered due to his own actions. So we can see, like, one thing we've seen throughout Krishna Katha is the people in Dwarka and at the time in Dwapara Yuga, they were very, very intelligent and they were very, very spiritual. So here Balram is trying to reason out with the Rukmini, saying that whatever that punishment that Rukmi has got is because of his own action, because he was so proud and he was so kind of like in a very enemy kind of a mood that he was going to teach Krishna a lesson and things like that, right? So he was in that mood. So he's saying, like, because of your actions only he's suffering, and there's no need for being too affectionate towards a brother. And Lord Balram again turns towards Krishna and says, my dear Krishna, a relative, even though he commits such a blunder and deserves to be killed, should be excused. From when such a relative, for when such a relative is conscious of his own fault, that consciousness itself is like that, there is no need to kill him. So what Balram's message is, he's saying that, since he's your relative, you know that he has done a blunder, but still excuse him, because earlier Krishna did that, right? Krishna, excused Jarasandha on the battlefield because even Jarasandha had a relationship over there. Because Jarasandha's daughter is married Kamsa. Kamsa's, Again, Jarasandha is the father-in-law of Kamsa. Right? Similarly, there's a relationship out there. And Krishna spared Jarasandha 17 times because there is a relationship out there. So similarly here, Balaram is telling Krishna, at the end of the day, there is a relationship. So just spare him, and when you spare them, at some point of time, they will have their own realization, and that time they will realize that, what's the fault that they have done. So there is no need to, and having that, because, sometimes when you do something, we don't realize at that point of time, but later when we realize that what I have done is very bad, that really kind of like pricks our consciousness, isn't it? It makes us feel guilty. Why did I do that? How could I hurt that person? We all have those moods, those moments, isn't it? We feel very bad. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, those kind of realizations. So Krishna is saying, from our point of view, he's just still a relative. So just excuse him on that. Just like Krishna excused Jarasandha. And later, he will realize at some point of time, and that realization is as good as like death. So Balram again turned towards Rukmini and informed her that the current duty of a Kshatriya in human society is so fixed that according to the principles of fighting, one's own brother may become an enemy. So, so the most important thing is, as Krishna mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvanyam Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Krishna says to Arjuna, these four divisions of the human society, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Brahmanas, and Sudras, these four divisions of the human society has been created by Krishna, so that anybody who's having those gunas, he has to do his dharma according to his gunas. So sometimes when you are a Kshatriya, according to your dharma, Kshatriya dharma, there will be situations where you'll have to fight against your own brother. Because let's say if one brother is adharmic and one brother is fighting for dharma, then there's situations like you may have to fight with your own brother because he's not following dharma, whereas you're following dharma. And that's the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita, right? Why is Krishna telling Arjuna to go and fight? Because he says it's your Kshatriya dharma. So you have to go and fight. You can't say like have this kind of affectionate feeling because that's not the role of a Kshatriya. And and Kshatriya does not hesitate to kill his own brother because he has to do his dharma. That's what the most important thing. That's why we call it Sanatan Dharma or Swadharma. Swadharma is like the what comes out of your own nature. Like we all have Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma, like our daily responsibilities and duties and all these things we have that comes out of our Swadharma. And also we have to understand we are an Atma, we have to serve the Paramatma, which is what we call the Sanatan Dharma. So in other words, Lord Balaram wanted to instruct Rukmini, and that Rukmini and Krishna, um, Rukmini and Krishna were right in not showing mercy to each other in fighting, and despite the family consideration that they happen to be brother-in-laws. So in a way, Balram is also justifying that what Krishna has done is in a way right because, at the end of the day, he's doing a Kshatriya dharma. So Balaram informed Rukmini that Kshatriyas are typical emblems of the material way of life. They become puffed up when there is a question of material acquisition. Therefore, when there is a fight between become belligerent Kshatriyas for kingdom, land, wealth, women, prestige, or power, they try to put one another into the most abominable conditions. So that's the nature of the Kshatriyas, isn't it? What are the four reasons why the Kshatriya goes and fights? It's either because of land, because of wealth, women, prestige, or power. And we can see on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all these things were the reason why the war happened, right? So the Kauravas went and insulted Draupadi. That was one factor. That Kauravas were not ready to give even a tip of a needle. That much. Krishna has said, at least give them 5 villages. Let the Pandavas have at least 5 villages. And Duryodhana insulted, saying that I'm not going to the tip of a needle. I'm not going to even give that much of a land. So when these kind of things are in conflict, when they're in the other side of adharma, then a Kshatriya is supposed to stand up and fight. Atisto Bharata. Krishna tells Arjuna, Arjuna, you have to stand up and fight. They try to put another. So this is the reason why Kshatriyas land up into situation because of these four factors. And Balram instructed Rukmini that her affection towards her brother Rukmini, which has created enmity with so many persons, was a perverse consideration befitting an ordinary materialist. So she's trying to reason out with her, like about the position of Rukmini. He's created so many enemies. So her brother's character was not at all admirable, considering his treatment of his friends. And yet, Rukmini, like an ordinary woman, was affectionate towards him. He was not fit to be her brother, but still Rukmini was lenient towards him. So this is the nature, right? The compassion. In fact, we always say Radharani is the compassion within Krishna, right? So we always pray to Radharani because she's so merciful, she's so compassionate that if we take the blessings of Radharani, then we'll be able to achieve Krishna Bhakti much more easier. Because if Radharani recommends anyone out of compassion to Krishna, Krishna can never say no to Radharani. So you can feel like Rukmini, even though he's not worthy of it, of being pardoned, but Rukmini still is being a sister. She's still lenient towards him. And besides this, Balaram continued, but consideration that a person is neutral or is a friend or an enemy is generally made by persons in the bodily concept of life. And such foolish persons are bewildered by the illusionary energy of the Supreme Lord. The spirit soul is of the same quality in any embodiment of matter, but those who are not sufficiently intelligent see only the bodily difference between animal and men, literate and illiterate, rich and poor, which cover the pure spirit soul. Such differences observed mainly on the basis of the body are exactly like the differences between the fire in terms of the various type of fuel that it consumes. Because the fire, no matter whatever you put into it, it doesn't show any description. It just does its job, what it has. It just burns down. Whatever the size or the shape of the fuel, there is no such variety of size or shape in a fire which comes out. Similarly, in the sky, there is no differences in the shape, size of shape. So here again, like as I said, in Dwapara Yuga, people were so spiritual and they had so much of a knowledge of at the Atma level that how this only at the bodily level, like, and that's the thing which happened in Khatri in even the battlefield of Kurukshetra, right? Because Arjuna was having compassion for the bodily relation, and Krishna was having compassion for the soul. So both of them are, because Arjuna was so bewildered at a bodily level. He was talking about his relationship with his guru and with his grandfather and things like that, because he was showing but inside everyone it is the same Atma, which is actually part and parcel of the Paramatma. But it's only at a bodily level. People who are not transcendental, people who are not spiritual, they try to make this discrimination, isn't it? And people who are materialistic and who don't believe the thing that okay, animals can be killed for their enjoyment and things like that. So a lot of people have this so much of differences in their thinking because mainly because of these differences in the body. But a Krishna conscious person who understands, who treats the same Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastine Sunichaiva Sa Pakecha Pandita Samidarshinaha. So a wise person or someone like who is a Krishna consciousness person who understands Atma is the same, whether it is like a Brahmana, a learned person, or dog or a dog eater. All of them he's looking at in the same vision because he knows that inside all of them it is the same Atma which belongs to the Paramatma. So that is why it is a Krishna consciousness person who's very enlightened, who understands the difference between body, which is temporary, and Atma, which is permanent, and which is the energy of. So here, this we can see that Balarama is mentioning about that a person who's neutral, who's neutral, who's someone who can understand that it is the same Atma which is existing in all the living entities. So that is what happens when you become Krishna consciousness. You understand that there is an Atma which is sitting in each and every, whether it's a dog, a dog eater, it could be the most abominable person, but still we know that inside him there is an Atma which is going on. But Krishna at that point of time had to be on the side of Dharma to put an end to all that. And all the people who died on the battlefield, even though they were on the wrong side in the presence of Krishna, they all got liberated. And it is very clear to understand who's on the side of dharma and what happens on the side of when you're on the side of dharma and what happens when you're side of adharma. Like a great person like Bhishma, even though he was the greatest warrior, and but towards the end of her life, because he was on the wrong side of dharma, because he was supporting adharma, he landed up on a bed of arrows. Similarly, Jatayu, even though she got defeated, she was trying to stop Ravana taking Mother Sita to Lanka, and in the process, he lost his life. But he landed up in the lap of Lord Ram. So this is what happens when you are on the side of Dharma, that you land up in the lap of the Supreme Lord, because Supreme Lord is so compassionate that you fought for him. And this is the whole instructions of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells Arjuna to fight for me. Don't fight for your own sense enjoyment, but fight for me, for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. That is the whole essence of Krishna consciousness, doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Do everything, but do it for Krishna. And that's when towards the end of our life, we will land up like Jatayu in the laps of Krishna. And Krishna says towards the end of life, whomever you think of, you will go there. But a devotee, Krishna is so kind that for his devotees, if the devotee doesn't remember Krishna towards the end of life, Krishna says, I will remember him and take him back to the supreme, to his supreme planet. In fact, one of the name of Krishna is called as Gabasti Nemi in Vishnu Sahasranama. Gabasti Nemi means that Supreme Lord Bhagavan Sri Krishna holds the Sudarshana Chakra in his hand to protect his devotees at the towards the end of the life when the Yamadutas come, the messengers of Yamaduta come, he holds his Sudarshana Chakra so that the Yamaraj or anyone don't even dare touch the devotee of Krishna. That's why he's called as Gabasti Nemi in Vishnu Sahasranama. So like that, Krishna, in so many beautiful ways, giving us this assurance that the devotees of Krishna need have to be anxious about life and death because they're always their life is in the hands of Krishna. That even though we may forget towards the end for any reason, that Krishna will always remember his devotee and take us back. So I just want to stop over here, being respectful of the time that it is, which is 9:10. Any realizations or anything like that? So we covered nicely that how Krishna is so easily defeated all of them. We've seen how Balram has come and joined hands and he went and wiped out Rukmi's army so easily. And then he's playing the role of an elder brother, chasing Krishna to not to treat him like that because he's our relative at the end of the day, and then kind of giving spiritual advice here to Rukmini as well. So we'll stop at here. And I want to just be open for any realizations, corrections, or anything at all. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, beautiful. Like it's like we breathless. Like when you say that, when you do the katha, it's like Krishna speaking through you. So it's like that that vibes I feel. So yeah, very blessed to have you doing this katha. And yeah, just one realization that when we see the personality of Lord Balaram, like even in his different avatar, even as Nityananda Prabhu. That's what he's done to Jagai and Madhai. Like he's always the most merciful. They don't just call it like that. I mean, he has like as you mentioned that even if you let them, if you spare them, maybe out of guilt they learn and they like understand. So always killing, of course Krishna has come to annihilate people against adharma, but like sometimes one off here and there, if you let them go and maybe they can rectify themselves. So yeah, I just was trying to compare like how in a different avatar. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a very nice example that you mentioned, Sanchit, because, and thank you for your kind words, not worthy of it, but Krishna is here. Maybe he's just speaking out here to our devotees. Thank you so much. You're always encouraging and supporting even a fallen soul like me. The one of the thing, like even the Jagai Madhai, I was just thinking about it because many times when we are speaking about Krishna consciousness to people, not everybody is like a Brahmin, not everybody is like God conscious or forget about Krishna conscious, not even God conscious, and they're so have their own philosophy of life. And I came across those kind of situations, and I'm like in a troubling situation. Should I even do my sharing of Krishna to him because this person is totally either they have intoxication or they have some other habit. And what do we do? Like either we go ahead and share with this person and not bother about his habits? Because how do we deliver this Krishna consciousness? Even I was in a fix like recently I was trying to do Krishna consciousness preaching to somebody and trying to do kirtan for them. And I knew that this person is like, has his own bad habits and things like that. But what do we do? Like, do we share Krishna consciousness? Like how you gave a good example, Nityananda, and I was thinking about the same. If Nityananda delivered Jagai and Madai, even though he knew that how horrible they were, like they were like, but it's later they transformed, right? I mean, so the thing is like sometimes that conscious kind of consciousness when somebody realizes like all these years this person has done so much for me, that realization is very very powerful because when people realize that what, if not today, tomorrow, if they realize that this person has done so much for me, can't I do this back? That realization is much more powerful because that is like a big turning point where people just realize and just turn around and they give up a lot of things. So I do come across sometimes situations like that, but I think like what when we preach, we shouldn't be looking at that. We should just do our dharma. Our dharma is to preach and give Krishna consciousness to other person, irrespective of whatever habits they have, as long as they're ready to listen to us. And then after that, it's up to Krishna, because like as Krishna says, for people who don't believe in Krishna, who don't want to listen to Krishna, Krishna covers himself with Yoga Maya. But for people who want to listen to Krishna, Krishna says, I sitting in the heart, dwelling in the heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge all the ignorance which is born of, all the darkness which is born of ignorance. So it's very important. Where Krishna is like, if you don't believe, then I'll cover myself with Yoga Maya. But if you believe, then I'm going to give you the knowledge. But I think we as Krishna conscious, like aspiring devotees, we just do our bit and just leave it to Krishna. So, but yeah, that's a very powerful realization. I was myself in that situation. Should I actually even do this? Am I wasting my time even just telling this peaceful person about Krishna consciousness? But I thought maybe someday they're going to open their eyes and they will pick up from there. So yeah, thank you, Sanjit. Wonderful example. Ramnath Prabhuji, anything you'd like to?
Not today. I mean, I'm just listening. Thank you very much. Very nice, as usual.
Thank you, Prabhuji. With your blessings. Vrindavan Das Prabhuji, any realizations, anything to add? Anyone else? Nagesh Prabhu, Emal Prabhu, Jagan Mohan Prabhu, anything? Ashwin Prabhu? There's
Profound,
anything?
profound as always, Prabhuji. Profound, absolutely divine nectar.
Yeah, Krishna Katha is like that, isn't it, Prabhuji? Krishna is attracting us in every possible way through Krishna Katha, through Bhagavad Gita, giving us this assurance. And I feel like everybody, when I was just thinking about Govardhan Leela, and I was thinking like, and recently I was daily reading the chapter number 11, Vishwarupam. And when Krishna shows the universal form to Arjuna, even a greatest warrior like Arjuna, who even fought with Lord Shiva, Lord Arjuna. Arjuna fought with even with Lord Shiva, and he was given this gift of Pashpatastra. That kind of how powerful Arjuna is. And such kind of a great Arjuna, when Krishna showed his universal form, he was totally bewildered. He was shaken away. He was so scared and he was so fearful. He said, Krishna, just like 1,000 suns, if they appear at one time, that's the kind of a radiance and effulgence that I can see from this Vishwarupam universal form. Arjuna, Krishna, I cannot take this universal form anymore. It is scary. I'm so fearful. Please come back into your ordinary form. I want to see you as a four-armed Narayana form and then come back into your original form. Please, I cannot take this anymore. So we can imagine if Krishna wants to show his universal form, even a warrior like Arjuna got scared of seeing that form. But in general, we all know that when it comes to children, we all know that immediately our compassion goes. We start loving them, whether it's anybody's kid. When you find a sweet kid, we start looking at them and we start loving them. So Krishna, through his leelas, even though he showed the Virat Roop, on the other hand, he's doing his leela as a small baby, right? This Damodar Astakam is all about that, where he's maybe the whole meaning of Damodar Astakam says that he's immersing the people of Vrindavan in the pool of ecstasy, giving that nectar, because everybody loves a child, right? So Krishna, in the form of a child, he's attracting everybody and he's drowning the inhabitants of Vrindavan in a pool of ecstasy, giving up that love, because Krishna knows that a child everybody loves. And in that form, as Balagopala, he was just like giving them so much of a nectar, running away from his mother, rubbing his eyes. And the whole Damodar Astakam is so beautiful. And we can see the prayers of a pure devotee like Satyavrata Muni, who says that I don't want liberation, I don't want mukti. I just want this beautiful form as Balagopala to ever manifest in my heart. So this is the prayer of a pure devotee. So I was just thinking like how Krishna is attracting through these beautiful leelas, through the month of Kartik, through the Damodari leela, through the Govardhan leela, that through his inconceivable power, that we have a supreme friend like Krishna in our lives. And he's constantly telling us, you don't need to worry about demigods, you don't need to worry about devatas, you don't need to worry about anyone. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Pardo Dhanurada. Wherever you have me, you are protected, you are under my shelter. You don't need to worry. Mam hi partha vyapashritya ye pishu papayonaha striyo vaisya tata sudras ye timam param gatim, where Krishna says, and everybody is qualified. It's not that only Brahmanas can take the shelter of Krishna. He's saying everybody, Shudra, Vaishya, Brahmana, Everybody can take shelter of Krishna and everybody is eligible to go back to Krishna Loka. The only bottom line is, the only ingredient for that is Krishna Prema. And that Krishna Prema can come in our lives only when we read to Krishna Katha, when we follow this Bhag Damodari Leela. In that way, we start developing the love for Krishna. Because just like Arjuna, when he seen the Vishwarupa, the universal form of Krishna, then he started telling Krishna, I called you Yadava, I called you as my friend, I called you by all names. Krishna, I'm so sorry, I didn't know you are a supreme Lord of the universe. I didn't know that whole Shiva, Brahma, everybody is within you. I didn't know this, Krishna. I'm so sorry I called you and many names sometimes. Sometimes I used to laugh and joke on the same bed. Sometimes I used to, scold you or do some things like that. So sorry, Krishna. So his realization is because he knew that Krishna was so great, then he started feeling so guilty that so many times he treated Krishna like that. So like that, if we understand how great Krishna is, then we will fall in love with Krishna. Then we'll start offering all our senses for the pleasure of Krishna. Till that point of time, we have to make sure we have to keep listening to Krishna Katha, and that is how slowly all the anarthas and samskaras in our heart, keto darpanam arjunam, all the cleansing will happen, and then the pure love of Krishna will come. When we keep on listening to Krishna Katha, keep on chanting, and keep on reading the Bhagavad Gita. So that's my realization. Amaga Prabhuji, anything you want to add? Final one
Hare
before we.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanak Pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very wonderfully explained. Yes, everything whatever we are doing, it comes from Sampradaya. Though there are some mantras, for example, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, this is coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is the bona fide. We have to chant this Maha Mantra. And there is again in Kalisantra Purana, Hare Rama. So it's starting with in a different way. So I see some of the message in the group that some of the devotee has posted that Mahamantri. So, but we have to take it, though it is one, you need to follow the Sampradaya. Without Sampradaya, if you simply just know that, oh, this is the right thing, there is no benefit out of it. Sampradaya vihina ye mantra te nishpala mataha. So one has to follow these rules and regulations coming from Sampradaya, bona fide. That is Rudra Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, and Nimbarka, Kumar Sampradaya. So one must be taking this Maha Mantra from the Sampradaya, follow the regulative principles that is required. Then everything will come into the picture. This is our Sanatana Dharma. This is everything is explained Padma Purana.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. That's very important point that you mentioned, that following the bona fide spiritual sampradaya, because sometimes, many times, we get tempted to use our own logic and we start making our own arguments, and which I always say, like somebody recently was asking, like, did Krishna die like this, Krishna die like that, and there are so many things. At a very initial stages, they want to know so many answers. My only point is that keep it very simple. Follow the sampradaya, do your bit, and everything will be revealed in the due course of time. Everything will be revealed. So the spiritual knowledge is in such a way that it's not something which we can just get a test like that, but thing gets revealed. Just like Bhagavad Gita, a non-devotee cannot understand Bhagavad Gita, but a devotee who's always chanting Krishna's name, Krishna reveals Bhagavad Gita to them. So even for me also, I had so many questions. When I read chapter 15, I didn't understand Krishna talking about an impersonal banyan tree, roots upward, branches down. I couldn't understand. But I did not lose my faith or belief. I said, look, okay, things will happen. It's so, and now I can totally understand what Krishna meant by that. That everything is started from the spiritual world. That's what he's talking about, the roots, and it has come down to this material world. And here we, completely get detached and again go back to where the roots is. So these things, a lot of things in spiritual world, they will get revealed to you in your own course of time. So instead of applying your own logic and all that, we always keep saying, if you want to apply the logic of your mind, you will miss the magic of God, and that will be the tragic of life. So never apply logic. The most important thing is to follow the sampradaya, follow what the devotees are saying, and just keep it simple and don't try to boggle mind with so many complicated questions. Everything will get revealed in its own space of time, but we have to be humble and try to keep it simple and just follow the sampradaya and just try to read a lot, and that will really help. Thank you, Prabhuji. I mean, that's a very important point you mentioned.
And
Amagat.
one more point, Prabhuji, just to add. And also Krishna's universal form, it is showed to Arjuna. It is a temporary manifestation. And in the Virata Rupa form, in the Bhagavatam, it is mentions. Prabhupada number of times explains that Vishwarupa is just temporary, but the devotees, they always take the pleasure seeing Krishna's two-handed form. That is the most. That is what it is stressed here in the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Krishna is also mentioning in the Bhagavad 12th chapter, Mayeva. So that is
Mayeva mana adatsva, mayi buddhim nivesha. Just fix your mind upon me. Yeah. And that's what
yes.
Arjuna's conclusion also. He said, like, this form is beautiful to watch. And that's what we are all doing. This is because Krishna knows that this is the best way we can fix our mind. We can fix our mind on a beautiful form of Krishna, whether it's Bala Gopala or whether Krishna playing the flute. We cannot fix our mind on a universal form. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, it's a temporary manifestation, but the main thing is like, so we had the philosophy and we had the right guidance from Prabhupada to give us this. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. I know it's nice getting close to 9:30, and I'm being respectful for everybody's time. And I want to humbly thank like each one of them. Like we have. I can't say in words like how fortunate we have to have Ramnath Prabhu with us, guiding us, giving insights, and always sharing divine knowledge with us. And I always kind of like find it very nice when the Ramnath Prabhu, like the vision that he has about Sanatana Dharma. That really always amazes me. That's so wonderful. So I want to thank everyone, and we'll again meet next Thursday for the remaining part of the Krishna Katha. The nectar of devotion continues. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we do. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
And before
Krishna.
everybody
Thank you
starts,
again,
let's all
Sham.
say three loud Hari Bols to Prabhu.
Hare
Hari
Bol.
Hari
Hare
Bol.
Bol. Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Vantikalpatarubhyasya kripa
Yeah,
sindhubhyo
Kripasindhubhyev च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Jai Shanti
Hare
जगत वैष्णव की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you,
जय।
Prabhuji.
Lotus feet ki jai.
No, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Shyam Prabhu.